Master's Degree Dissertation Guidelines 2019. Office of the Dean, Faculty of Management, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu, Nepal, effective from 2019. Table of Contents is Chapter 1 Introduction, Dissertation Guidelines, Dissertation, Research Committee Approval, Chapter 2 Research Ethics, Research Ethics, Chapter 3 Requirements for Master Dissertation, Regulation of FOA and on dissertation writing, proposal writing, dissertation structure and contents, paper and typography, evaluation of the dissertation, appendixes, Appendix A regulation of FOM dissertation writing, Appendix B format of preliminary materials, Appendix C guidelines for table and figures. Chapter 1 Dissertation Guidelines. These dissertation guidelines have been created as a guide to help master level students establish minimum requirements, academic standards, and physical format and appearance of dissertation. The purpose is to provide academic requirements and structural guidelines required for dissertation writing to the students under the Faculty of Management (FAM). Faculty of Management means FAM. Tribhuvan University (TU). The form encourages the preparation of documents to be consistent with the specialized requirements prior to the submission. Submission of this document is the final step in a program leading to conferral of a master's degree. Dissertation. A dissertation is a formal academic document following the rules that govern the way in which it is presented. It must have chapters that provide an introduction, a literature review, a justification of the data selected for analysis and research methodology, analysis of the data, and conclusions and recommendations, advice on the range of suitable topics which relate to the subject area of your master's degree will be approved by the dissertation supervisor and research committee. The dissertation is the final stage of the master's degree and provides you with the opportunity to show that you have gained the necessary skills and knowledge in order to organize and conduct a research project. It should demonstrate that you are skilled in identify an area or areas suitable for research, setting research objectives, locating, organizing, and critically analyzing the relevant secondary data and authoritative literature, developing an appropriate research methodology, analyzing the primary data selected, and drawing on the literature in the field, drawing conclusions, and, if appropriate, making relevant recommendations and indications of area for further research. Research committee approval. Dissertation is an academically admirable of professional document and should meet academic vigor and professionally standard in content and appearance. The Office of the Dean (FM) has established guidelines to ensure uniformity in style and format, and your dissertation must meet the standard to be approved. What is the student responsibility? Is the It is the student's responsibility to read and fulfill the requirements presented here and to submit the dissertation maintaining the quality. Correct grammar, punctuation, and spelling always should be used. And these aspects are the responsibility of the student. Please consult your supervisor and committee chair for specific content requirements. Proofreading is the responsibility of the student and his or her supervisor. Style. Most format requirements of the FAM dissertation guidelines take precedence over format rules found in the other style guidelines. Format includes definition of the parts of the thesis and in the order in which they must appear, the content of the prefatory pages, the type font, margins and spacing, the placement of the page numbers, and the requirements for permission to reproduce copyrighted material. The FM will recommend a student for the degree sought only when the dissertation completely satisfies the requirements stated in these guidelines. Chapter 2: Research Ethics. Ethical issues have come in forefront in the research writing. All students have a responsibility to conduct and report the results of their research in ethical manner. The dissertation represents the culmination of years of academic preparation and expresses a student's ideas, training, and skills. The dissertation therefore deserves the student's effort and with all scholarly work demands evidence with highest ethical standards. Fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism in proposing, conducting, or reporting research or other scholarly activities are ethical misconduct in research. Fabrication means making up results and falsifying research results refer to altering, misrepresenting, or selective misquoting of the findings. Each of these activities violates the integrity of the research process and constitutes a serious breach of accepted ethical standards. Ethical research practice, therefore, requires that students at all stages of the research process conduct their research in honest manner and make every effort to ensure the accuracy of their findings. Plagiarism is a form of ethical misconduct in research and consists of the intentional or unintentional use of the words, ideas, diagrams, or publicly available work without appropriately acknowledging the source of these materials. Thus, any use of the words, phrases, ideas, or work of others in any form without acknowledgement of the original sources constitutes plagiarism and is subject to penalty. Students must be aware to acknowledge the contents of literature review, the ordering of ideas in the discussion, and the list of differences at the end of a discussion, which may reflect the thinking of the others. This contribution must be acknowledged and cited. Therefore, the researchers are advised to be conscious and ethical issues, particularly in the following: data retention and sharing. It is the duty of the researchers to retain and share the data used in the study. The researchers must produce every bit of data to the supervisor while working on the research. The researcher must keep them ready at the time of viva voice and produce as evidence on demand. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is, as stated earlier, claiming others' words and ideas as their own. It is strictly prohibited. The researcher must take permission for all copyright materials. She or he can refer other researchers' writings in her dissertation, but credit to the source must be given in the text and list in the list of references. Okay. Protecting confidentiality. During the research, the researchers may have access to confidential information of a person or an institution. It is the duty of the research to maintain the confidentiality of the person or institution. Chapter 3: Requirements. Requirements for master dissertation. A master thesis is a substantial document presenting independent, independent research that makes a contribution to the current body of knowledge in a scholarly field. The author may conduct an original invest- investigation or develop an original interpretation of existing research and literature. A dissertation adheres to a standard format, generally with several basic chapters that may include an introduction and statement of a problem, a review of a literature pertinent, pertinent to the problem, an explanation of the materials and methods used to solve the problem, a results section, a section of the results, and a conclusion. A formal list of references cited in the dissertation also is required. The dissertation must be formatted to conform to the FOM specifications and stated in these guidelines. These guidelines consist of number one, dissertation writing regulations prescribed by Faculty of Management (FAM). Number two, basic components of the proposal for dissertation writing. Number three, dissertation structure and content. Number four, dissertation layout. Number five, research ethics. Number six, evaluation of dissertation. And number seven, appendix. Please note, this is only a guidance that students must read as a guidebook on research methodology, and students are required to consult his or her dissertation supervisor for additional support. Regulation of Faculty of Management on dissertation writing. Every student's writing master's dissertation must comply with the regulations set by the Faculty of Management, Tribhuvan University. These regulations relate to the language of dissertation writing, dissertation completion period, and the grade. Students are advised to go thoroughly the updated regulations available at the official website of the FAM. The current one is appended in Appendix A. Proposal writing. The dissertation proposal describes what the researcher intends to do and how it will be done. It should outline the clear terms, the nature and intent of research. The proposal works as a roadmap in the zone of research. Students must submit a dissertation proposal to the research department, research management cell (RMC) in their campus college. Once approved, the student will have to prepare the report as outlined in the proposal. In the process of writing proposal, the first step is to identify the possible area of the study. In the second step, students should do the preliminary review of literature in the chosen area of the study and raise some issues for investigation. In the next step, it is important to examine whether data will be available on the chosen topic or not. Finally, it is wise to evaluate possible obstacles. Example, the study will take too long time to complete or requires long distance travel or involves health hazard, etc. In carrying out research on the chosen area, if everything goes fine to the point, the researchers can finalize the title for the research work. The title of the dissertation should reflect the main idea of the research work. The title should be concise but should incorporate significant variables in the study and their relationship. An example of a good title is Credit Risks and Profitability on Commercial Banks in Nepal. Always avoid using abbreviation and verbose terms. Example, a study of an investigation into an understanding of, like in the title. It is generally suggested to limit the length of the title within 12 words. The approximate length of the proposal is 8 to 12 pages. The proposal should be written in the following structure. Number one, background of the study. Number two, problem statement. Number three, objectives of the study. Number four, hypothesis, if any. Number five, rationale of the study. Number six, brief review of the literature. Number seven, research methodology. And then research design, population and sampling procedures, nature and sources of data collection, research framework and definition of variables, and method of analysis, and then at last references. This dissertation structure and contents. A dissertation typically is made of three main sections: prefatory sections, body of the dissertation sections, supplementary material sections, and in prefatory sections, this section is organized in the following order: Title page of the dissertation, certification of authorship, report of research committee, approval sheet, acknowledgements, table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, abbreviation, abstract. The formats of the above contents of preliminary materials are provided in Appendix B. Abstract. An abstract is a brief but comprehensive summary of the dissertation. It is the first sections to be read and should be the last to be written. It should enable the reader to make an informed decision about whether they want to read the whole report. The length will depend on the extent of the work reported, but it is usually a paragraph or two and always less than a page. While writing an abstract, begin with most important points, the problems under investigation or the objectives, state methodology briefly, report major findings, conclusions, and their implications. A good way to write an abstract is to think of it as a series of brief answers to questions. This should probably include: what is the purpose of the work? What methods did you use for your research? What were the main findings and conclusions reached as a result of your research? Did your work lead you to make any recommendations for future actions? Write in a clear and concise language. Use active voice. Use present tense to describe conclusions. Use past tense to describe specific variables manipulated or outcomes measured. Do not include information that does not appear in the body of the report. Do not comment or evaluate in abstract. At the bottom of the abstract, provide keywords, not more than 5, that truly reflects the research. Limit the abstract in one page. And in number B, body of the report section. This section is divided into 5 chapters. The contents of each chapter are given below. In exceptional cases, the sections within a chapter may be altered, added, or deleted upon the advice of the supervisor, but that must be justified by the need of the study. The content of each chapter is organized in the following order. Number 1. Introduction. Background of the study. The purpose of this section is to create the context to the study. This section should describe about the core aspect of the study of the topic and clearly establish the focus of study. It should be written based on factual information on the topic and the institutional under study. Therefore, it is important that the researchers have sufficient idea and factual information on the topic. There is no specific limit to the length of the section, but 2-3 pages should suffice. Okay. Number Next, problem statement. The purpose of this section is to establish research issues. It is core part of the introduction chapter. Remember, problem statement is not the listing or difficulties of problem. It is the statement of why the situation, example the relationship improved or worst between variable exist. Therefore, it is important that problem statement must be supported by evidence coming from the review of literature. Evidences from the literature justify why the research problem is worth investigating. Problem statement section normally ends by raising research questions. The researchers should demonstrate with adequate review of both theory and empirical researches that the problem that have been chosen for the study is valuable to the readers. Normally, 2 or 4 pages are enough for this section. Objectives of the study. Objectives of the study specifies what the researcher intends to do. It is customary to state general objective of the research in 1 or 2 sentences. Then list the specific objectives. In fact, specific objectives are conversion of research questions into a to-do list, and general objective is the reflection of all the specific objectives. There are a few guidelines on the use of action verb in setting objectives. Use action verbs like to examine, analyze, access, compare, etc. that can really be outcome in this study. Words like to know, see, understand, etc. are generally avoided to frame objectives as they are difficult to realize. And next is hypothesis, if any. Research questions posed in problem statement section requires answers. Hypothesis testing is one concrete way of answering those questions. If the researchers can have chosen this approach to answering the questions, the hypotheses have to be stated in this section. And then rational, rational, rationale of the study. In this section, the researchers should state why this study is worthwhile and useful to the readers. The study could add to existing knowledge, improve current practices, or add to policy making. Be specific and honest. Unjustified claims reduce the value of the research. And then limitations of the study. Limitations inhibit the generalizability and applicability of the research findings. But then it is also always good to acknowledge them. They signal warnings to the readers on the applicability of the study. The researchers should differentiate between the scope of the study and limitations of the study. Scope specifies the area of the study. Limitations arises with the scope. Uses not covered in the scope are not the limitations. And chapter 2 is literature review. The purpose of this chapter is to review related literature in order to develop fuller understanding on the topic. It gives the researchers an opportunity to develop skill on locating resources, scanning and critically evaluating the literature and analyzing them in a well-organized manner. Before actually embarking on this activity, it is important that the researchers must thoroughly learn how to review. Otherwise, it is likely that the researchers may lost in jungle of the literature. There is no strict limit to the page number to this chapter, but as a guide, 10 to 20 pages should suffice. This chapter begins with an introduction which create a link chapter 1 and remainder of the chapter of this chapter. It also should provide an overview of the organization of the second chapter. Introduction is followed by theoretical review. As its name implies, this section is meant to review theoretical underpinning on the topic of the research, but at master's level dissertation, it is equally useful to review literature related to conceptual aspects of the topic. Review of recent research articles or reports related to the topic of the research, often dubbed as empirical review, should follow the theoretical review. The researchers should identify the key issues investigated by the study. Check the methodology followed and note the key findings of the study. Literature related to the government policy regulations and any other relevant aspects of the studies should also be covered in this section. The review of literature should clearly establish with evidence that there exists research gap. In review, researchers use others' resources, text, data, idea, etc. for their own purpose. Therefore, it is essential to give credit to the original authors. There are specific ways of crediting them in the text and listing the materials in the list of references. Faculty of Management follows the APA style of citation and referencing. Therefore, researchers are advised to check publication guidelines of the American Psychological Association (APA) 6th edition for details. Frequently asked questions about the publication guidelines of the American Psychological Associations are available at this website http www.apastyle.org/faqs.html. And then next is chapter 3, research methodology. What sets apart the research writing with other forms of writing is that research writing clearly spells out in the report of set of research methods followed while carrying out the research. It makes the research writing scientific and allows other researchers to verify the findings if they wish by following the same set of methods. This is the reason why a separate chapter section is devoted to this research methodology in every research report. This chapter opens with an introduction and includes 1. Research design, 2. Population and sample and sampling design, 3. Nature and sources of data and the instrument of data collection, 4. Method of analysis, and 5. Research framework and definition of variables. State the research design: exploratory, descriptive, comparative, interventional, qualitative, followed in the study. Clearly identify the population of the study and draw a sample representative to the population. Be careful while selecting the sampling technique: random, stratified, purposive, conveyance, etc. Only appropriate sampling techniques ensures representativeness of the sample. Specify whether primary or secondary or both types of data have been used. Also specify the sources, methods, and instruments of data collection, mostly a set of tools. Example: financial statistical are used to analyze the data. In some cases, models are used in the analysis. They must be spelled out in this section. Finally, the research framework should be developed to streamline the research process. The review of theory and evidences from the empirical studies reviewed in the second chapter should guide the development of the research framework of the study. The researchers should clearly identify the variables, define them, and establish their interrelationship at this point. Number 5. 4. Results and discussion. In this chapter, data are presented in appropriate format, then analyzed and discussed. The analysis should seek the answer of research questions posed or test the hypothesis set in the introduction chapter. The outcomes of the analysis are the results. The results are then discussed and interpreted in the light of theories and empirical studies to arrive at conclusion. Accordingly, this chapter is organized in the following order: results, discussion. Results. In the results section, the researchers should present and analyze the collected data to extract their meanings. Tables and figures. Brief guidance for the preparation of a table and figure are presented as Appendix C, are useful for meaningful presentation of data. Analysis of data and the reporting of the results of those analyses are fundamental aspects of doing research. Therefore, the researchers sometimes aggregates and some other time breaks down data in pieces of analysis purpose. Different methods and tools are analysis are available. In some studies, example or descriptive type of study, simple percentage analysis of a ratio analysis would suffice. Others may require simple to complex statistical analysis. When reporting the inferential statistical test or when providing estimates of parameters includes sufficient information to help the reader to fully understand the analysis. For inferential statistical tests, example T, F, and X squared tests include the obtained value of the test statistic, the degree of freedom, etc. Use them properly in appropriate selection of the tools spoil the researcher's efforts. This section should seek to answer all the research questions and test the hypothesis. Organize the results section in a number of subsections to cover each aspect of the study. And then discussion. In this section, the researchers evaluates and interprets the results. Here, the researchers examines every aspect of the results in terms of related theories and empirical findings of other researchers. The researchers should discuss why the findings are consistent or inconsistent as predicted by the theory. Compare the results with that of other researchers and try to explore the reasons for the similarity of the contradiction. While in the results section, the researchers has to analyze the data Here in the discussion section, he or she has to synthesize the findings of the study. The researcher has to interpret the results in right perspective and offer evidences wherever necessary. While interpreting the results, care should be given to sources of potential bias, the imprecision of measures, the effect of sample size, and other methodological limitations and weaknesses. The discussions in this section should clearly lead to arrive at the conclusion and implications of the study that is defer to next section. And in chapter 5, summary and conclusion. The purpose of this chapter to present an overview of the study in the summarized form along with major findings and the conclusion of the study. Accordingly, it is organized in the three sections. Number 1, summary. Number 2, conclusion. And number 3, implications. Number 1, summary. As its purpose is to provide an overview of the study, it should cover a very brief introduction and justification of the study. Then it should give the general objective of the study and describe the methods followed in the research process. Then it should report the key findings based on the analysis and discussion section. Organize findings in a purposeful manner so that they answer the research questions, support or negate the hypothesis, and lead to conclusion. Conclusion. In this section, the researcher wraps up the things by telling the readers what was learned from the research. The researchers should draw the conclusion only from the findings of the study. Number findings may lead to one conclusion. At this point, he or she may use interpretation of the findings and give meaning to them. The researcher's logical interpretation of findings leading to new knowledge makes the research original. Implications. The research may have number of implications to policymakers, practitioners, and academic community. They have been reported as recommendations and area of future research. Supplementary section. The purpose of this section is to provide a space for materials that are relevant to the research work, but their inclusion in the main text distract the readers. Some materials even work as a evidence to what has been presented or discussed in the text. The most common materials placed in this section are the list of references consulted for the research purpose and dataset used for analysis. And then at last, references. The researchers extensively uses reference materials while writing research report. These reference materials are required to be listed as part of the research work. The purpose of reference list is to provide information necessary to identify and retrieve each source and give due credit to the works of others which are quoted in the present work. A list of reference materials so presented in terms of references or work cited and follow just after the main text of the report. Specific, Specifically, a reference list contains only those sources that are cited in the research work. Faculty of Management shows the APA style of referencing. Therefore, researchers are advised to check publication guidelines of the American Psychological Association 6th edition for details. Frequently asked questions about the publication guidelines of the American Psychological Association (APA) are available at apstyle.org, faqs.html. Information about using the publication guidelines of the American Psychological Association (APA) and examples of citations style as well as information about planning, preparing and writing a master dissertation are also available at apstyle.apa.org or all purdue.edu. All research and citation style of AP formatting and style guide general format .html. Documentation with example. Books general format author year of publication book title publication publisher location publisher author Garner J. Computer Science Brumwell P.A. M. Mason Trust. Two authors, Faulkner S.L. and Siglett S. 2016, writing the personal getting your stories onto the page. Rotterdam, the Netherlands, Science Publishers. 3 to 7 authors. So this is the format of reference. So if there is one author, we have to write in this way, and if there are two authors, we have to write in this way, and if there are 3 to 7 authors, we have to write. If a book has 3, 4, 5, 6 authors, list all authors' names. We have to list all the authors' names, like given in the examples here. More than 7 authors. You can see the name here. One editor or compiler as only author. So this is the reference how you can include periodicals, magazines, journals, and newspaper. General format is like this: author, this date of publication, title of article, title of periodical, volume number, pages, and magazine article is given in this way. Magazine article, no author listed. General article, newspaper article, electronic sources. Okay. So this is the format which we have to write in references in the same format and the same way. Online sources, and then articles and books from library, electronic databases. So these are web. I'll keep this big the source uploaded in WordPress. So I have taken the reference of that, and I will keep this in description link. You can get from this PDF file, and then this is the way of referencing. And then paper and typography. Paper size: the dissertation should be typed on ISO A4 size white bound paper. If diagrams, maps, tables, and similar presentation do not readily on the sheet size, ISO B4 size may be used. Okay. Line spacing: the line spacing should be 1.5 in all text lines. Although 1.5 line is spaced after every line in the title. Headings, footnotes, quotations, references, appendices, and figure captions. Single spacing should only be used only in the table of contents. Charts, graphs, tables, quotation, and references. Margin: top, bottom, and the right margin should be 2.54 centimeter or 1 inch, and left margin should be 3.18 centimeter, 1.25 inches. The rationale behind more left margin is to allow space for binding. Typeface and font. Use uniform typeface and font size. Use Times in Roman with 12-point font size. Typing should be done only on recto side of the paper. Page number. Beginning with the first page of the main body of the text, pages are numbered consecutively and runs to supplementary section of the dissertation. They are numbered with Arabic numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and put at the top right corner of the page. Top right corner of the page, but all pages preceding the first page of the body are counted and numbered with lowercase Roman numbers 2, 3, 4, and put at the center of the bottom of the pages. Note that the title page is counted, but the number is not printed on the page. Okay. Figures and tables. Figures and tables should be inserted at the appropriate place in the text. Figures must have numbers and captions under the figures. Tables have their titles and numbers above the tables. Figures have their titles and numbers below the figures. Evaluation of the dissertation. The dissertation shall be assessed in two different steps. The first step at college, the supervisor of the representative college, the internal examiner appointed by the research committee, and as experts invited to viva voice examination process evaluate the research. Students will be required to attend the viva voice examination and defend the work satisfactorily at the campus. Second step at Faculty of Management Office of Dean. When first step of dissertation evaluation at college is completed, the college should submit 2 copies of that dissertation with first step college evaluation score. Viva score at Dean Office, Faculty of Management. The Dean Office shall start second step evaluation through two different experts. The average score of two experts and the first step evaluation score are added for final marks of the student. The weight given for first step evaluation at college Viva voice and second step evaluation of FPM carry over at 25% and 75% respectively. Appendices Appendix A Regulation of Faculty of Management and Dissertation Writing. An original and accurate account of research that meets the academic standards set by Craven University FOM guidelines for master levels dissertation writing. Dissertation must be written in English language only. Achieved a satisfactory standard of expression and presentation in the report. On a topic approved by the research department of the respective campus, the candidate should defend dissertation proposal at research committee of the college. Not submitted or not intend to submit fully or partially to any organization, judicial decisions for any other academic award, supervised by the faculty member of the campus. However, there could be co-supervisor from outside the campus, duly signed by supervisor, by voice expert and research committee head, examined by external examiner and Viva voice completed at college at first step of evaluation. Students can submit dissertation proposal at fourth semester to respective campus and can work with close supervision of assigned supervisor. Students can only attend Viva voice examination after the final examination of fourth semester. The time interval between dissertation registration after proposal defense and vice versa date should be minimum of 2 months. College research department must keep record of each student's proposal registration date, dissertation submitted date, and viva voice date along with dissertation topic. Appendix V Format of preliminary materials. Title of the dissertation. A dissertation submitted to the office of the dean, faculty of management in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the master degree by name of the student, roll number, registration number, campus, sorry, submission date, month and year, certification of authorship. I hereby collaborate that I have researched and submitted the final draft of dissertation and entailed title name. The work of this dissertation has not been submitted previously for the purpose of conflict of any degrees, nor it has been proposed and presented as part of requirements for any other academic purposes. The assistance and cooperation that I have received during this research work has been acknowledged. In addition, I declare that all the information sources and literature used are cited in the reference section in the dissertation. Name of the candidate, signature, date of submission, report of research committee. Mr. Mrs. Dash has defended research proposal until Dash successfully. The research committee has registered the dissertation for further progress. It is recommended to carry out the work as per suggestions and guidance of supervisor Dash and submit the thesis for evaluation and viva voice examination. Name of the supervisor, position, signature, dissertation proposal defended date, dissertation name, supervisor signature position, dissertation submitted date, name of head of research committee, signature, dissertation by a voice date, and then approval sheet. We have examined the dissertation until dash presented by dash for the degree of master dash. We hereby certify that the dissertation is acceptable for the award of degree dash. Dissertation supervisor signature, examiner signature, internal examiner signature, chairperson research committee signature, date, and then acknowledgement, list of contents, list of tables, list of figures, abbreviation, abstracts, and then appendix C, guidelines on tables and figures. These guidelines provides Some useful tips for preparing tables and figures. These tips are based on API style for table and figure layout. Users of this guidelines are requested to refer to the publications guidelines of the American Psychological Association 6th edition for further assistance. Tables. Table layout should be logical and easily grasped by the reader. Give every title a brief but clear and explanatory title like mean performance scores of students with different college measures. Number all table Arabic numbers like table 5 or table 6. Tables are prepared single spaced. Limit the use of line into a table to those that are necessary for clarity. Each column of the table must have heading. Enter data at appropriate decimal place as suggested by the nature of the data. If the data are not applicable in particular cell, leave it blank. If the data are not reported, insert a dash in that cell. In the text, refer tables like inverted data presented in table 4. Do not refer tables like data presented above or below table. Okay. Notes: if any should be provided below the table. If abbreviation have been used in the table, they must be explained below the table. Figures. There are many different types of figures such as graphs, charts, maps, drawings, and photographs. Consider the following while designing the figure. Decide if the figure is essential in the text. Keep the figure simple and clear. Number the figures consecutively with Arabic numerals. Give the title to the figure that is descriptive of the content of the picture. Put them below the figure. Give the scale, magnitude, and direction of the grid elements. Mention the figures in the text with figure number. So, this is the way to write dissertation for MBAS, Master Degree Dissertation Writing Guidelines. So, this guideline I have read out once, and I will be writing the dissertation. So, this is very helpful. I will share it in description. You can download from there. And this PDF file is I took from our teacher Big Ostasa. So credit goes to our teacher.